Welcome to the world of PEMF, pulse electromagnetic frequency. And it is probably the most important thing I have discovered in a long time. You know, we've been to all the clinics, they all have it, they all use it. It's a daily program, every patient has it 2 times a day. And it kind of disappeared into the background because it's not that dramatic. It's not something that you would say it's really obvious. But when you understand the principle of PEMF, you can't live without. You won't have the success that those German clinics have or European clinics without it. And that's why we need to introduce it into any treatment. So if you are a health practitioner in any form, clinic, wellness retreat, detox center, chiropractor, anybody that helps patients to get well, you really need to look into this device. And that's why I made that video for you. Now let's look at some of the science so that we really understand how it works and what strength we need in order to achieve something. Now it's pretty simple. The geomagnetic field around the Earth varies from different places. Up at the poles it's strongest, at the equator it's few and a little less. And then you come down to the South Pole and it's strong again. And you can see in Australia on that heat map, you see it's actually a lot stronger, that where it goes up to 0.67 Gauss. And if you go up to Northern America, towards the south, San Diego, and towards Mexico, it's about 0.22. And if you go further up towards Canada, it goes up as well to 0.67. That's the value that is measured. And it's shifting slightly, it's moving, and it's created by that magma field, that lava field that is underneath our hardened crust. You know, the earth crust, the rock, stone, is actually a cold material, and underneath, the further you go down, it gets hot. And then there is a liquid space in between, and the friction and the movement of that is actually what creates that magnetic field. So it's a very strong pulsing energy that we have all the time. And that's why we are alive. That is what gives us the ability to live. It charges our body with energy. And because we are energy bodies, electrical beings, well, that's what we need in order to remain active and healthy and fit. All right? Now, when you look at now one of those multi-level marketing devices that are promoted very big, well, then you see that they have a strength that is around 0.16 Gauss, which is less than they have in Southern America. That's coming close to the equator area. And you have 0.64 Gauss, which is then up in the strongest area, which is Central America. And that's what you achieve with such a device. Now that's like going out into the grass and laying down in nature, and you have the same therapeutic effects. Micro Tesla or milligauss is actually really something that causes more of a placebo effect, and you need to be careful. Always look for the results that people show you and not what they tell you, because sometimes that's a big discrepancy. We had those devices in the clinic and we show you the results, pretty much nothing. Okay, now let me just explain you why. When you have the Earth as a magnetic field, you measure the magnetic field right at the soil, and you measure it 10 meters up, you measure it 100 meters up, and it's still the same because it's such a huge and vast magnet. It really just slowly deteriorates as you go higher up. But in the field that we move, it's always there. Now, if you look at those mats and you compare them like those little magnets that you have, and you put the meter on top of the mat, that's where you have those values of 0.16 or 0.64 with a professional device. Now, if you go 1 inch up, 1 inch, you have already half. If you go 2 inches up, then you have a quarter. If you go 3 inches, you have a 1/9 of the magnetic field. And that's to be measured. You can check that. It really is the way. It's like those magnets. When you are further away, they don't pull. And the closer you get, they pull more and more. And when you get close, they snap. Well, that's because of the size of the magnet and the power of the magnet. That's why they have that difference or that reduction in field. So if you have a body that is not just 2 inches thick, well, then you have no effect whatsoever on your inner organs, and you don't want that. As I said, go into the grass, lay down in the earth magnetic field, go sometimes out in the forest. There's plenty of things that you can do, and I put the chart down here so you can see what micro Tesla are and what milli Tesla and what Tesla and how that relates to Gauss, so that you have a relation and know what I'm talking about. Because all the device makers have a tendency to use all the different strength entities and those little signs up front so that you get confused. But you need to study that to know the effect. All right. Now the frequency is another issue that we need to look at. The Earth magnetic field varies between 1 very low frequency up to 50 Hertz, which is a higher frequency. And then if you move up into those fields, because everybody was asking about PEMF and EMF, electromagnetic dirty electricity. Well, mobile phones are in thousands of hertz. They're high frequency. The 3G and the 4G network, very high frequency. Microwaves, they're very high. So you don't want to go there. But the Earth magnetic field is between 1 and 50 hertz. It's a very low frequency, and it's like a hum that we can't hear. It's very low. So that's what you want to create with those devices in order to be in the range. Now because we live on a live planet which is always moving, we have all those frequencies in a variation. That's why a device that you look at should be able to play many different frequencies and in certain kinds of programs, so that you don't sit in one stagnant pulse, but you have a vary going through. It's like a variation of frequencies, and with some of the devices you do that by moving it away and close and changing the frequency of speed. By others it's automatically built in, and I'll show you that. But it is important that your device ranges from 1 to 50 Hertz in order to be the same as the Earth magnetic field. All right, now looking at the pulse form, which is another important thing. The Earth magnetic field has a sinusoidal, as they call it, sinus curve, we all know that, which is round and smooth, and it opens up a wide range of low frequencies, and it has not such a hard spike up on top, which then would cause those extremes. So it's very mellow and soft. That's why devices with a mellow curve or with a square, they cut off a bit of the low, cut off a bit of the high, but they have the biggest range and square of all the other frequencies within. And then you have the triangle, which is missing out on quite a bit. And then you have the sawtooth, which is again losing out pretty much on half. That's the different frequencies that we talk about, and we try to get the widest variety of frequencies into a device. And that brings us to the first group of devices, and we didn't have too many available, but we looked at all the strength and all the variations to check them out. Now we had the IMS Professional in the clinic, we had the Sansa Pro, which is a German device, a European device with lots of applicators, and you can see the price. It was 3,350 for the Sansa and 4,790 for the IMS Pro. You get a cheaper version, which is also around the 3,000 mark, which is the WellFit. That produces 0.16 Gauss. Now, Equator, laying in the sun, and well, you can go on holiday for that, and you probably get a bigger recharge. That doesn't have any effect whatsoever, and I'll show you that in images. The waveform is sawtooth, and from the Sansa is a square. Also, frequencies I didn't mention is from 4 to 25 Hertz, and the other one from 1 to 30 Hertz. So there is something missing that could be in the device. Now let me just go through how we did it. We had patients come in a busy clinic, and they all don't really look that well. So when you look at the blood values and their coin rolls and their stuck blood together and lack of energy and exhausted and high inflammations, then you can see that that blood value reflects the condition of the patient. And then we took that when they arrived and made the prick, and then we gave them that device to use morning, midday and evening, each for 20 minutes, which is the recommended time, or 15 minutes depending on program, to use the device to recharge their body. Both patients had, during the whole time, IV treatment and a full body hypothermia. Now, how much that contributed to the improvement is something we don't know and we couldn't separate, but they came for treatment, so we can't tell them just to do the mat. But it was very evident after 4 days of 3 treatments per day, there was very, very insignificant changes. Yes, there was a bit of inflammation gone, and here there was quite a bit of clarity, but that can be dependent on diet, that can be after the IV, that some of the inflammation was taken out. There were certain things that were reacting together, but you can see the charge of the membranes was very little. Like here there is one charged cell, but the rest is all still clogged up and tied together. And here there was a little bit of an improvement. They were spread out further, but the cells didn't look very exciting either. So we decided to move on to other devices. And this is actually a device that will cost you something like $480. It's a laser that you put in your nose and you turn it on. And then you look like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer because it starts glowing with a red laser light. Now that's the same thing. That's pulsed energy that is given out by a laser light, and that transports electromagnetic fields and negative ions into your body. You charge your body with ions. You look at those lasers that we have, and they do the same thing. They recharge the body. In Germany, for example, they use intravenous laser. You can see that in the image. It's a very thin little rod that is put into your bloodstream, and then that gives you all the energy that you need. And through those treatments, you see improvement. We call it trickle feed. I have to say, Dr. Gordon calls it a trickle feed. You give the energy slowly to the patient. Now, this size is something you put in your pocket. It has 50,000 hours endurance on the lamp. You have normal standard batteries that you put in. You use it every day 3 times. I do that while I sit here at my desk and do my work. I recharge my body and I give them energy. Trickle feed, more than with one of those low powered devices that doesn't even penetrate your body. Now that's something you can do like those clinics instead of the laser intravenous. You know that your nasal cavity has the most blood vessels in your whole body, all very close to the surface. So when you put this in, it just goes straight up. It actually influences the amygdala. It actually influences your whole brain function. Then over time, when you use it for 4 or 5 days, you feel completely recharged. It's slow, but it works, and it costs you a fraction of the cost, as you know with all the other devices. And I just like to mention very short, acupuncture, for example. A lot of people have never thought about it, why it works. It's not the needle in the point. A needle is like an antenna. You put that needle in the right point, and all the electromagnetic field and the negative ions that are in the air, especially if you have open windows and fresh air, or live close to a waterfall or at the beach, well, they are all collected like in an antenna and then go down like in a lightning rod into that point where they then start to reactivate. And sometimes they even hook it up to energy and to electricity to create that effect even stronger. So we are electrical beings, and to load the body and to recharge it is really, really important. And you can do that, and you know me, also in natural means. If you do exercise and you breathe and you go on your trampoline and you look at your blood values before and after, they will change dramatically. So that's something you can do pretty much, well, not for free. You need to buy the rebounder as well. But it's something that will help you to improve those energy levels. If you go walking at the beach and you walk 2 kilometers down the beach and back, and you do it half in the sand, half in the water, you absorb that whole energy from the ocean, from that magnetic wave, going back and forth, which is highly charged, and you absorb that in your body. You ground yourself, an amazing treatment. Do that before and after, you will see the difference. Around waterfalls and strong wind, all those things that create friction, vibration, is actually where you get that energy from. So you can do a lot without any device. If you want to recharge and you don't like to go outdoors, well, it's not good anyway, but you can do it that way. Okay, and that brings us to the second test group, and we call that our therapeutic devices. And that's where we put two together, which are really powerful. It's the Curatron devices, which come with a big mat and with a small applicator. And we've done the PMT 100, and we had them both at the clinic to check out how they work. Now, the Curatron model comes with 3 different models, and it starts with the 100 Gauss, big difference, to the 0.16 Gauss device. It's actually 156 times stronger, so that's huge. And it costs $800 less. It's not a multi-level marketing product, so they can be. All right, now that means you can start with a 100 Gauss device at home or in your clinic or in your therapeutic environment and give energy to your patients, to yourself, to, if you're a patient yourself, you can do that every day. And it's amazing the results that you have. It's not something that will give you instant results like we see later on in the other images, but it will do it over 2 or 3 days. That's what those other companies promise. That machine holds it, and we've tested that and it works. Now you can go up to 150 Gauss with the PC model. It's more to do with someone that would try different frequencies for different body organs, and it needs to be more someone that is technically advanced to understand the principle, and you can hook that up. And then we have the 3D model, which we used in the clinic. It has up to 700 Gauss. It's very powerful, and it's very soothing and beautiful, and it has 8 programs built in. You can hook it up to the computer, and it has a host of frequencies that you can play with and try out how it works. And then we move over to the PMT 100, which was a device that you can also regulate in frequency. You can see from 1 to 50 Hertz, and it has 1920 Gauss. So it's really powerful, and you see that big knob in the middle, like volume at a stereo. Well, that's the same thing. You turn it down so that you can hardly feel it. And you can go full throttle up, and you can pump yourself, depending on where you want to charge with energy, up to 1900 Gauss. Now that's power treatment. That's efficiency right on the spot. And if they have different applicators, coils around your wrist. If you had a broken wrist, you want to regrow that, or you want to repair your elbow, or you had surgery in a place. That's a stunning tool to really apply that very intensely. Okay. Now let me just show you those images because I like them. We had patients, like before, come in, and the first patient here you can see was not that much coiled and clogged, but what he had was deformed cells, really, really weakened cells. Under the microscope, under a very short time, they completely disintegrated and fell apart. If you look afterwards, we had our white blood cells, and this is really amazing. You see the one in here, the small one, you see the one up here, they're really squashed to the same size as the red blood cells. Well, if they're healthy, in a healthy body, if you take a young person which is outdoor and sport and is really fit, and you look at their values, they're 3 times the size. So that's what we achieved afterwards. You see the size difference? This is now the white blood cell, this is the red blood cell. 15-minute treatment. This was here with the Curatron 3D device, and this was here with the PMT 100. Both of them had super fast, immediate results. The PMT 100 faster, but it's about double the strength. So if you have a clinic and you want to put patients through, you want to make them use the device, you really want to treat volume, then that's the device to use. If you have a bit more time, you give them the chance to have half an hour on the mat, and you do that morning and evening, well, then you can use the Curatron. And it really is, price-wise, it goes up with strength. It is something that just technology, it requires that up, but it is certainly high value if you want to treat patients very effectively, very fast, to go for the PMT 100. Okay. The next one, and I mentioned that right now, was again a patient. It was actually not a patient, it was a doctor. And he came in and said, I want to know, you're all so hyped, everybody's excited about those PEMF machines, let me see my blood. So he took his blood and it actually looked good. It really didn't clog, it didn't have any coin rolls, it was quite okay. And then we put it underneath and he said, I'm not a good example. And we talked for a few minutes. And after 7 minutes, and Henning always turns on a timer when he puts the little glass underneath the microscope, and he turned on the timer, and it was after 7 minutes, the blood completely fell apart. The membrane was discharging. It's probably the light, the heat, whatever, but it just, and he said, normally that should last at least 15 minutes, 10, if you're fit and strong. So going down after 3-4 minutes, you could already see the beginning. After 7 minutes, the blood didn't look really good. So we charged him up with the device for 15 minutes, and we always use both devices at the same level to see how fast they work. And after 15 minutes on the Curatron, that was his blood. Now we left that in the microscope with light on, with lamp on, just to see exactly how long it lasts. And you can see after 48 minutes, it was still okay. Slight indentations in some of the cells, but hardly any. So that was really powerful. When he came back the next morning, we took the next blood sample to see whether he had gone back to his old state or whether the energy lasted. And it was still the same, and it was still about 45 minutes until they started to reduce. So the energy that you fill up actually lasts for quite a while if you don't have serious inflammations and acidity and all of those things in your body. All right? Now let's go on to the conclusion of that. If you want a home device, if you want a device for a wellness retreat, or you just share one with 2 or 3 patients that is more over a period of time, they have also a home device, the XP, the home device, but I would not touch that. That's in the same range with micro Tesla. You don't want to go there. But if you take the XP device, it's $800 cheaper than those weak devices. It has 100 Gauss. And for a home device, it's the ideal thing that you can use with your whole family. If you want to use it for a clinic and want to try out different organs and stimulations, you would go for the Curatron PC, which is actually connecting to a PC so that you can adjust all the different frequencies. And you can then move on. If you have a clinic, I wouldn't suggest any of the weak devices because it just takes too long for the results to show up. And that's where you would then go for the 3D device that we have now at the clinic, and as well the PEMT 100. The PEMT 100 we use really focused on treating of organs and functions and elbows and everything that needs to be done, whereas the 3D device is more used as recreation. So the patient goes in, has their half hour, they lay on the mat, and the magnetic field, you can measure that up to a meter away. When you go over the top with a magnet and you turn on the magnetic mat, it goes zzz, zzz, zzz. You can feel the vibration in your hand. So that's really, really important to use in that strong magnetic field. Okay. The PEMT 100 comes with a host of applicators. And I just tell you one thing, we had a lady, well, we had so many success stories that it was ridiculous, but we had one lady, she was stung by a bee and had a big swollen ankle. And then we wrapped that coil that you can see here, the one with the 2 black knots and the long cable. We wrapped that around her foot and around the ankle, all around. And then we turned 3 times 3 minutes. The timer goes for 3 minutes, pretty much on full. And afterwards the thing fell off. We could take it off without unwrapping it because the swelling had gone away. She had no more pain and she could walk instantly on that foot. I don't know how it works, but the stimulation of that energy in that field is absolutely mind-blowing. Now you can do that with the Curatron as well. You would have those mats, the small mat, and you would use that directly on the foot. So you can use both. As I say, it's double the price, but therefore you have that high efficiency with the PEMT 100, whereas the Curatron 3D is more mellow, is more soothing. It also has the sinus wave, while as the PEMT has the square wave. So it is a bit of a difference, but they both have their place. That's why the clinic in Germany has both of them to really fulfill every need that they have with all their patients. Okay, let me come to the next slide. On our website, if you go to maxawareness.com/PEMF-review, you will find a video where we show, and I'm uploading a few more. We did 6 patients and their whole process through how their blood changed. You can see from the moment of first blood, PEMF, second blood, the whole thing in one go through. So you really see that it works, okay? There is, by the way, over 7,000 research papers and 1,000 clinical studies to prove that your body must have enough electromagnetic charge to reverse disease and to maintain optimal health. So it's not something that is by accident. It's a system that we are built on and what we have to use to our benefit. Benefit. I just talked about benefits of PEMF. And I have here the list, and I'll put that underneath that you see it, but I'll explain it to you. If you think about those crumbled up cells that are clogging together, they have no energy to bounce off, they stuck together, they actually attract each other and build those coin rolls. Well, that's something that is supposed to carry nutrients and oxygen around your body. Not a lot possible. They can't even breathe. If you take one single cell, they have a lot of mouth outside around, you know, like those little mouth that take up nutrients, that expel all the toxins, that, you know, communicate with the world. Now you have on cells that are healthy, all of those active. They can take up all those different receptors and peptins and hormones and everything. They work with their environment. Now, if they are clotted up, half of that doesn't work. They can't even expel their energy. They can't even let go of their toxins and their discharge. So it's something that just doesn't work. And as soon as you charge them up, and then you do a treatment, like an IV treatment, you give that patient vitamin C. All of a sudden that can be used by all the cells. As before, half of the cells don't even have the capacity to take vitamin C up. So it's very logical. It's not something that you need scientific research and proof. It's logical when you see those images that the nutrient uptake, detoxification, the oxygen uptake, increased ATP production is all increased. Improved DNA and RNA repair, which is really important. Every cell replicates all the time. So when they are fully charged and they have the energy to do that, they don't recreate crippled and sick and weird and abnormal cell. They replicate healthy cells, strong cells. So it's important for that. You have higher response in IV infusions, higher response to heat treatment, which we discovered with fever therapy, amazing results. Then you have emotional uplifting because it stimulates release of endorphins, which is always nice. And it was really when we started to use these devices and we really did it intense with all the patients, the whole mood of the clinic was going up. And then it stimulates antioxidant regulation, redifferentiation of cells, something important. You don't have a healthy cell and then a cancer cells. If you look at those blood values, you see that there is many stages in between where they fall in, where they are not strong, where they don't have energy. And then they start to become inflamed. And as they are becoming inflamed, there is different degrees, a slight inflammation to a heavy inflammation. And all of those ranges from a healthy cell to a deteriorated, weak, inflamed cell up to a cancer cell. Now, as soon as you feed in energy back into the body and you give them the right nutrients and you take out toxins and you change the milieu, all of a sudden those cells redifferentiate back to a healthy cell, which means you don't create more cancer cells. You help those sick cells to become healthy again. I think this is a big, big bonus. And it decreases swelling, as I said, with the bee sting instantly. You can see that. It decreases inflammation. You can see that as well in the blood values. Instead of all those inflammation markers, they were going down. And it reduces pain. You use it for osteoporosis and bone density and cartilage reproduction. It's amazing. It's for everything. And it's simple. You know, think about children bouncing on a trampoline and jumping and running and all of that. That friction, that energy, that constant movement that is a charge that is charging our body. That's why on a trampoline you have similar effects, because you recharge the body with energy through that friction, and that's what you need. Now, I also want to talk about the drawbacks. A lot of people think, I have a device, and I know quite a number of people, they don't do anything. They don't do a healthy diet, they don't detox, they don't do anything, but they purchased that $25,000 device, and then they just charge themselves every day. And that's what I feel a bit of a tendency to become dependent, to not do anything, to stay indoors, to exhaust yourself. Like we had that problem in Germany. We were filming and interviewing and running around and cameras and lights and everything, and we were doing a lot of work. And, well, I need a recharge. I went up into the PEMF room, zapped me through, or I was laying on the Curatron mat and recharged myself. And I felt the increase of energy, and I could keep going. Now, that's not quite the purpose. You still need your quiet time, your rest time, your silent time, breathing time. You know, that's really part of the healing. And that's where I feel some people, use and abuse this machine, and they don't look for the causes. So that's one of the things that I thought we need to mention. Okay. I had the last sentence. Okay, now here. Why do we need it? And I'd like to just explain you that very, very easy. General exhaustion of the body caused by stress, chronic disease, inflammations, blah, 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 you know them all, will reduce the cell's membrane potential, which is usually between 70 and 90 millivolt. Now that's actually measurable around the cell, the membrane capacity. It's the electric charge of a membrane to stay round. It's like in a balloon that you blow in. It's that magnetic field that holds that strong. Okay, now if you reduce that level, then the balloon will crumble in. Similar, actually quite a nice example. So if the potential approaches the zero level, the cell dies. We told that, and you can see all those blood values that we had, like those coin rolls, very little energy, so they're about to die. The cell uses 50% of its own energy production, ATP production, to maintain this potential. Now think of it, 50% of what you do, your cell tries to create that potential to keep you alive. Now if you reduce that value and you have a low energetic value in your life because you don't do a lot, because then this whole thing will deplete and your whole body starts to degenerate. And that's what we call aging. Well, it's a great anti-aging device, I can tell you. All right, all PEMF devices are ion transport systems enabling selective movement of protons that then recharge and repolarize that membrane, which normalizes the cell activity or the membrane potential. So that's how it works. Okay, now let's just look very short. I told you that when you go further away from the Earth, that's when people feel the symptoms of having no magnetic field, pulsing electromagnetic field from the Earth. And that's what they experienced with astronauts when they went out in space. Well, it was gone. They had no more energy. So that's really important to understand that we need it in order to stay alive. And here you see nutrient uptake, H2O, and oxygen uptake is blocked if the membrane voltage is less than 70 microvolt. Whereas if it's between 70 and 90, all of those things can be taken up. Scientific, simple explanation. Okay. Now the business model, and I like that. You know, we all have that Truly Heal program just starting, and that's why I wrote TH Business Model. What we will do is, we have about 580 applications from around the world, in South Africa, in Romania, in Germany, in England, in Denmark, in Sweden, in everywhere. So what we do is, we start in February a tour around the world, and we meet with our so-called ambassadors. So if you are interested to become an ambassador, just go to Max Awareness. Up in the top bar, you see Truly Heal, and then just click on that, and then you will be introduced to the system. So you can then apply for becoming an ambassador for your city, for your village, for your area. and we help you to set up either a wellness retreat. And we don't talk about disease. We have nothing to do with disease. You know, we don't want to get into trouble, so we don't heal disease. We don't treat disease. What we do is we rejuvenate, we re-energize, we educate people how to live healthy, and through that we don't get in trouble, but we create truly healed centers. And that's where then people can go, where we have local education centers, where we train the people that run it to actually share the right information, take all that information out, and provide the services. And those ambassadors then help. We come once a year around or twice a year to hold workshops and seminars and to create larger communities. And that's something that would be an ideal thing to build your business, to create a little establishment where you have sauna domes, where you have PEMF, where you have oxygen, where you have all the things that we need to rejuvenate and stay well. If you already have a center and you would like to merge that with that, this is ideal. And I can tell you what, if you had a person seeing the results, and I wrote that once a person has experienced PEMF, they will come back forever, especially when you show them the results in the dark field microscope, and they're $800. You know, like you can easily get one of those with a camera attached with everything. And that shows you straight away the results that you have when you use that energy. You can use that with hypothermia. You can use that with many things to showcase how you improve, how your cells work, and how your energy levels are. So think about that. If you're interested, just go to maxawareness.com. Up on the top menu bar on the right hand side is Truly Heal. Click on that and then you can fill out your application there. Okay? And that was it. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm really excited about every question. You can write that underneath. Don't send me emails, write it underneath. And I will forward those questions also to our experts. We have in Truly Heal program, we have several experts for all different areas, and they will be able to help you and answer those questions so that you can decide with 100% certainty. Okay? See you then.